Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm going to be showing you all of my favorite Christmas patterns involving crochet. So these are all the patterns that I have made and have enjoyed and would love to share with you guys so that you can make them this holiday season as well. I will have all of the patterns linked in the description below. I have one pattern in this list that you will have to purchase. It didn't used to be that way, but it's just hard to get anywhere else, so I will have it linked. But it's not that big of a deal. It's very cheap and it's on sale right now, so I will talk about that in the video. If you are new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it so you can be informed of all the things that I've got going on my channel and anytime that I post a new video. Some of the items that I'm going to be showing in this video may be available in my shop, or it may be just something I'm showing that I have kept for myself. For each item, I will put in the corner and say if it's available in my shop, if it's available in my shop. If it doesn't have that, then it means I have it for my own personal decor or whatnot, so keep that in mind. Also, I am a very limited crocheter with items that I have available because I don't make a whole bunch of items. So it's very possible that an item that you're interested in may already be sold. So do keep that in mind because I do have a one item type situation. So it is first come, first serve. So don't delay on that if you're really interested in something, and don't hesitate because it may be gone. But that doesn't mean that I might not make it again later. It's just, it's not guaranteed. So I just thought I'd let you guys know that because that's just how it works with me. I can't crochet so many items because I don't know if I'll sell them, and I also don't want to hurt my hands in the process of doing that. So I hope you guys are understanding of that. But I do have the links to the patterns so you can make them as well. So let's get started on our lovely list of crochet Christmas items. First off, I'm going to start off with this stocking. This is actually the first stocking I have ever crocheted. There's so many patterns out there too. But this one got me excited because I'm a huge fan of the bobble stitch. I think this one's bobble stitch, but any stitch that kind of has this texture going on, it's a huge favorite of mine. So this one was very heavy with this one as well. It was also one that looked like it would work up very quickly because they're very beautiful, but very time consuming, and I wanted to make one that I could, you know, work up very quickly. And I believe this one is pretty quick because only a couple rows are actually bobble, and I can't remember what this stitch is. I think it's single crochet, and then I used a different, more softer yarn on top, which I believe is what she did as well. This pattern credit goes to A Crafty Concept. I believe she had some cute little pom-poms hanging down from her stocking, but I didn't do all that just because of not wanting to do that. I didn't have anything, honestly, too, that I could have done that, and I didn't want to make the pom-poms myself. But you could go for it and do that and add a little more to it. I believe this is just, let me check my yarn label because I can't remember what kind of yarn this is. I'll put it in the video because I have to go look for my yarn label and I have no clue where it is. But I know it's not quite a white, it's more of a cream, but it's very soft. And this was just regular acrylic, probably Red Heart yarn that I used for this. So this is great for when you want to do your own custom stockings. Instead of buying them from the store, you can do whatever colors you want. There's also so many other crochet patterns for stockings. I always go on Pinterest and just search crochet and stockings, and then you can get a whole bunch of free patterns that way. This is a free pattern. I went more traditional colors for this because this is an item listed in my shop, so I wanted to stick with something that could be easy for a decor, or if somebody wanted to have it for, you know, their stockings for the year, or giving. You can put stuff in it and gift it this way. It's so versatile on what you could do with the stocking. All right, here we have our little reindeer. I call them the little reindeer because I have bigger reindeers coming up. This one's just a fun one. I ended up doing this one just as a backup, as a white elephant gift. We were doing a bunch of things at my church, and We wanted to make sure we had enough gifts for the kids that we were doing the activity for, and I just whipped this one up. It took me a bit of time, but it's on a smaller scale, so it did work up a lot faster than something that would have been bigger, and I thought it was something that would be really cute. And I think it's definitely a great project if you're wanting to make some and gift them for kids. Just be considerate on the age group. If you're doing safety eyes, you can also sew. I mean, I sewed his nose on, so you could even sew or embroider eyes or use felt. I love felt. It's great for the eyes because you can just glue them on and it looks cute still. But this pattern credit goes to Super Groomy. And you do have to make a bunch of little pieces. Like, I think this is worked as you go, but you do have to make these. I know you have to make this little piece and probably sew it on, and then sew on the arms and legs, and then the snout as well. But other than that, it works up fairly well with just getting the head. I think you might have to attach the head too. So there's a bit of sewing, unfortunately, but he does turn out really cute in the end, so it's worth it, in my opinion. Now I have this fun little snowman. I had a lot of fun making this one. I'm very into just the simplicity of the snowman. So his hat does come off in my situation, the way I've assembled him. You can make it that you sew the hat so it doesn't, or glue it on. He has his arms here. I believe the pattern suggests that you can use a pipe cleaner. When I made this, I didn't have pipe cleaners, so I left it be, and it worked fine. I might have stuffed it, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. And then his scarf here is loosely just tied on. You could sew it on and glue it. I just kind of left it more loose. You've got his nose, and then I did make a pom-pom for his hat. And then I added buttons and the safety eyes. This pattern credit goes to, it's fairly worked out pretty basic. I think this is the most basic you can get when it comes to a crochet pattern, because you are just doing mostly like little small increases. It will be time consuming to do this part, but then you got the basic circle, so if you're used to doing circles, that won't be a problem. And then you're doing half a circle here. There's a little bit with a technique there, which I can't remember what technique this is. I'll have to look at the pattern. And if you guys are really wanting me to, I can cover maybe what technique this is in a tutorial, just to help you guys out. The scarf's pretty basic. You're just going to crochet one little thing and then working in the round. So it's fairly overall a very beginner friendly. If you're still working with crochet but you know how to do all the basic stitches and stuff, it's a great way to make a project by taking all that you know and turn it into something very cute. So this is my favorite. I love having him up every year and having him just with my decorations, because we have a blue theme with one of our trees, so this is a fun way to add it to our blue theme. And then we got our Santa gnome. I believe he's supposed to have like a pom-pom right here or something, and I don't think I ever got around to putting it on him at the time, so he still needs that. But this pattern credit goes to Winding Road Crochet. I believe most of this pattern is just color changing, and you just make them as one whole thing. I was kind of loose on stuffing him. And you attach, like, it looks like you work the beard kind of in a round and attach it like a tassel. You have his little arms here and his legs. So it's pretty basic when it comes to low sew. If you're wanting something that's not have a whole bunch that you have to sew, it's mostly all crocheted. It's just going to be very time consuming because you're just going to be working and working and working. I just did him in the traditional, but you can do whatever colors you want. I thought he's kind of fun if you like that gnome theme. I've been showing a bunch of different gnomes in my other videos as well. So this is for you gnome fans. Alright, now we've got Snowballs. These are fun. I've been wanting to make snowballs for quite a long time. I've had them on my to crochet list forever, it seems like. And I finally got around to doing them. So this pattern credit goes to 5 Little Monsters. And I just went ahead and did 5 of them. You can make however many you want. I mean, it's literally just crocheting in the round. And I used, for this, was Bernat blanket yarn, but it's the baby one. It's much softer than regular blanket yarn. So if you're, I wanted something that was more soft, because this, and my idea is that it's going to be for kids to play with indoors or just to have to hold and play with. And I thought softer was better. It also worked up really nicely. So that was one thing I did like about it as well. I did play around because I didn't have this color yarn. I didn't really have any yarn. I was trying to play around with the same velvet one that I had. It's not velvet one. Let me check to see what that is. I want to say this is Loops and Threads Chenille Yarn. I know for sure it's Chenille, but I can't remember specifically what brand it is. I know I got it at Michael's, but I'm not a huge fan of Chenille yarn. I've been trying to work with it. Working in the round has not been my favorite, and I feel like it's pretty gappy even when I use a smaller hook size. Whereas I used, I think, just slightly smaller hook size with this one, and I don't have any gaps, and it's super soft, and I had absolutely no trouble with it, and it worked up really nicely. I would recommend using that. Like I said, it's the Bernat Baby Blanket in the color of white. So any baby blanket yarn is going to be on the softer side. So if you're wanting something and you're using blanket yarn, I strongly suggest using anything that's in the baby blanket because it is a lot softer. But this is fun to just have an indoor snowball fight, or just to have as a little cutesy decor piece. I believe the person that has the pattern, they were showing them in like a little tin bucket, and you can make it be like snowballs for 5 cents. You can make it like a fun little decor piece in your home. Now I got my Santa teddy bear. So I tweaked, this is also by 5 Little Monsters, her teddy bear pumpkin pattern. I just followed the exact same pattern. I just did color changes. So it's her legs, but I just did a color change. So I figured out where I wanted to change the colors. The same thing as this. I just figured out where to add the belt. This, I believe I just chained, made a chain and then figured out how big to make the square and then just sewed it on like that. The hat actually is a completely different pattern by Repeat Crafter Me. If you watched my ornament video, that was the Santa hat that I showed. So that's the same pattern here. And I just sewed that on. So I'll have to figure out what I did if you guys are wanting to do this exactly like I did, and put the modifications in the description with the pattern, because I didn't write down what I did, but I'm sure I can just look at it and count the rows and tell you guys where I did the color changes. So if you're wanting to do this, you'll be able to. But I've had a lot of fun with 5 Little Monsters teddy bear patterns. I've made a whole bunch of the teddy bear pumpkins, and then I've tweaked it. She does have, I believe, a few other holiday ones. I think she has a St. Patrick's Day one as well. Definitely check out her website. She's got all sorts of fun patterns. I've loved every single pattern she's done, so she does a really good job with what she does. Next up, I have this Hope tag pattern, and this is by Highland Hickory Designs. I'm a huge fan of Highland Hickory Designs. I've made quite a few of her patterns with multiple things. I don't know what I did entirely different, because I'm pretty sure I followed, it might be the yarn, that's always what I think gets me. I used acrylic yarn. It's possible she used a much smaller yarn. I feel like these ended up way bigger. I mean, this is my hand. It's literally the size of my hand. I thought these would be a lot smaller, saying it was only supposed to be about 5 inches. But these are not 5 inches. These are a little bit bigger than that, which is fine. I mean, it makes it more of a decor. They're supposed to have, I'm probably going to take some twine and make little ties so you can hang them. And that's what she has in her pictures, them like hanging on off of a shelf or some little hooks. But it was pretty easy. I followed along really well. She has a graph to show how to do each of the letters, which you could easily, I've even thought about it myself. I mean, you could easily go in and, you know, take the chart she has and sketch out the letters to fit, you know, because you only have to have a certain amount to fit, and you can take any letter and really swap in and spell out whatever you want. If you want to do peace, you already got the PE, you just have to do AC, you know, or whatever other ones you want. I thought about doing where you could take two of these and do it another time, so it'd be ho ho, you know. You could do all sorts of things. You could even do Merry Christmas if you really want to do the whole thing, or something like that. But I thought this was really fun, just so you can kind of play around with. You can even do initials, like if you're wanting to put this on a gift or make ornaments for people, you could do that as well with their initial on it. Or you can do the whole alphabet if you want the whole alphabet. I think this is just great because it really opens up the opportunity for you to do so much just from what she's laid out. And you can do, I did want more rustic because that's kind of how the vibe that I had with her pattern. But you could do solid colors, you could do Christmas colors, you could do pretty much anything. You could even do this outside of Christmas. You don't even have to do it for Christmas. I mean, this seems very versatile that you could do it any time of the year. These are two different patterns, so these will count as a pattern, two different ones in my little list of patterns. So these are both done by the same person, by the Friendly Red Fox. I believe the body is the only thing that is worked up exactly the same, and I think the tails, the antlers are a little different, as you can see, and so is the heads. But it was a fairly, I wouldn't say it was easy, because I did struggle a little bit with the head, just because there was some parts that were a little different than what I was used to following. So I wouldn't recommend doing this pattern specifically if you're brand new to crochet. Definitely work your way up to this point. But they were, after a little bit of the little situations that I felt were a little complicated, like I did think that this would, like where you do this part and attaching, because you have each individual leg that you make and then you have to attach them. That might be a little challenging for a new crocheter, but she does show pictures and things like that, so don't make that seem like you can't do it. But I just want to give fair warning that it can be a little challenging. Whereas I've been crocheting for a while, so it took me a minute, but I could figure it out. Whereas I worry for you newer crocheters that it might be a little tricky. But I don't want to hinder that. I think you guys could do it if you gave it a try. But these turned way cuter than I thought they would. I used acrylic yarn. She used the Premier Basix Chenille Yarn. I have not gotten my hands on any of that yarn specifically, so I don't know a whole lot about it myself. But I didn't have any real issues working with just using the acrylic. And as you can see, these turned out really cute, even with just the acrylic yarn. I did think it looked cuter with her chenille yarn, but as I just said a little bit ago, I'm a little hesitant with using chenille yarn just because I feel like when I work with it in the round, it usually doesn't work when I do my drawstring close right here, and it clumps and frays and it just doesn't work well. So unless somebody else knows a technique with using chenille that way, I really don't like to use it in the round, and I really avoid it if I can. But these were definitely cute, and I definitely recommend them if you want to try and do something on the different side. They worked up super well. Alright, now I have this little poppet tree. And I have another one that also goes kind of with it, is a poppet penguin. These are both done by Cables and Canvas. And she does all sorts of fidget type things like this. If you've watched any of my other videos, she does some Halloween ones. I mean, if you go on her shop, she's probably got all sorts of things. But I definitely think this one was much easier. So if you're wanting to try something kind of basic, You do bobble stitches, and it's all worked, you know, from the top and then down here and down here. And this is a separate part that you work on. But I felt like this one was very simple. This one might be a little more on the challenging side just because you do work the tree, but it's more, but it's more the color changing right here can be a little complicated because if you're not used to doing the color changing, that might be a lot more. You do work a little bit with adding the wings and things like that. So it does have a little extra steps, but I highly recommend maybe trying to do this one first if you're still new, just to get a feel, because I feel like I did this one first and it was pretty challenging in my opinion, just because there was a lot going on, whereas I think this would be easier to just start out with, where it's simple, there's not a whole lot going on, and you already have an idea of how the tree works, whereas these two are very different. You do make this one slightly bigger, but they're both fun regardless. She even has a video tutorial here on YouTube. I'll link that down below for this one. This one is a free pattern as well. I don't believe she has a tutorial for this one though, so that could also make it a little more challenging. I believe she does show pictures and stuff like that, so that makes it very helpful. Just trying to help you new crocheters out. I want to make sure that I'm not steering you guys to projects that will be overwhelming, because I know how easy it is to start a project and it be very complicated and then you just don't want to do it. So I don't want to guide you guys to making something and being like, yeah, this is easy, don't even worry about it. I want to make sure that you guys can actually do the pattern. It's quick and simple. This one is a lot more time consuming and there's a lot more steps. So I would prefer to guide you guys to this one where you just have to focus on the tree. If you want to add little ornaments, you can, and then you have the little bottom and the top. And it works up a lot faster. You don't even have to add the face if you don't want, but it's very simple, and then ta-da, you're done. Whereas this one, you do have a lot more. It will take you a little bit longer. I want you guys to be able to have something that's quick and simple. And that's what I would say with this one. If you want more of a challenge, go for it. And I'm hoping to make a whole bunch more of these. We'll see if I get them in this year for Christmas. I already made one of these and gave it away, but I don't know how much more I'll be able to make these just because they take quite a bit of time. I am loving the fidget little pop things. They're fun. This one I'm still in the process of working on. I started making it last year. It's a rustic tree skirt. I am using some of the Bernat blanket. This one's is the speckle yarn, specifically in the color cream. It's in the works, so I can't really show it to you guys because it's not that exciting right now. But I have a picture of the progress I had last year, and I'll show it with my tree here. Because I'm using a very different yarn than what the pattern suggests, I was kind of tweaking and playing around by following the instructions. You're supposed to use Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick yarn. And at the time when I was doing this, I had a specific theme for my tree that I wanted. This was back when we still had Joann's, because that's the only place I could have gotten this yarn. And I looked at their Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and they, I believe, had the color that I could have gone with, because I wanted that tannish color, because I wanted something neutral. I was going with red and green, traditional Christmas, so I wanted a tree skirt that wasn't going to be too much red or too much green. So I wanted, you know, something that was just neutral. And when I got to looking, you're going to need quite a bit of yarn. I think those skeins are not very big. So I think in the end, I was going to have to pay, like, I think I was going to have to get like 4 or 5, or I don't even remember. It was a lot of skeins, and they were more expensive than if I were to get the Bernat blanket. And I liked, they happened to have this was new, that they happened to have the speckle yarn at the time. And so I got that instead because it was cheaper than using the Wool Ease Thick and Quick. So in her pattern, you end up using so much more of the Wool Ease Thick and Quick because you double up on it. That's what I was saying. You're going to be using quite a bit and you need a lot of it. But with the Bernat, you don't need as much because it's already thick. But at the time when I was making it, I was following her pattern where she said to double up, and I double up my Bernat blanket yarn, realizing it was not working, and it also wasn't the right size for my tree. like I said, this is a year ago, so I don't really remember what all the issues were. It's still in the works. So I'm tweaking the pattern a bit to fit my tree, and I'm kind of changing the style because I realized I like something a little bit better. So I will have modifications to her pattern, but not to say that I don't love the way hers looks. I think it would look better if you're following with that yarn, as I'm showing you guys here with the picture. This is the style of the tree skirt, and that's what I wanted. But because I'm using such a thick yarn, it's not showing up that way, so I'm tweaking it. And if you guys are interested, when I finish, I can show you guys the tree skirt. I can show you my modifications and what I'm doing. But I'll have her pattern. There's nothing wrong with her pattern. I think it's cute. It just didn't work out because I wasn't using that yarn. So if you guys are wanting to use the yarn and happen to find that yarn, because I could only find it at Joann's. So if you guys can find that yarn and want to make it, go for it. Follow her pattern. But I'm doing a little bit different because, like I said, I made it more complicated on myself by choosing a different yarn. And then I'm using, in her pattern, you use buttons and stuff. So I have a bunch of wooden buttons that I got at Joann's right before they were closing. I mean, I was doing this all with the Christmas before they were closing anyway, and then I went and got a whole bunch just in case, because I don't know how big my tree skirt's going to be. So I got a lot of buttons. I think you only need like 4 buttons, but I got like 5 or 6 just because I didn't know how many buttons I was going to need. And I went with more of that rustic kind of feel with the buttons. So unfortunately I can't show you guys it finished, but I'm saying that it's my favorite because the minute I saw that picture, I knew I was making that tree skirt. So if you're wanting to go rustic with your tree or have a tree skirt, that's the pattern I think to go to, because it is easy to follow and it is easy to work. I just can't figure out how I want to do the style because I messed up the yarn. So that's the only issue of why I'm not showing it, is because I'm still figuring that all out. But what I had done last year and seeing it with my tree was my favorite, and that's why I have to show it, because it was something that I was very thrilled to see in the works. I just am picky, and I like to have everything look a specific way, so while I'm doing all this, I'm tweaking things. So that is all of my free patterns that I have to share with you guys. This one would have been free, and it used to be free because I made this back in 2020 when we first moved into our house and had our first Christmas tree, but it is no longer available the way I found it before, and I don't know where I got it to begin with, but I have found the pattern, and it is on Etsy, and it's not expensive. But if you guys can happen to find the actual pattern, so it's by Margaret Wilson, and the title of the pattern is Granny Ripple Tree Skirt. It used to be through Annie's Patterns. It's who she had it published through, so the magazine company, but I guess it was only a specific time for that. But like I said, you can get it on Etsy, and you can get it for 66 cents for the pattern, and that goes until December 26th, which usually their sales restart, and it still stays at that. So you probably can get it done anyway before, and get the pattern before that sale runs out. But I made mine, and I'm just going to be able to show you parts of it because this thing is massive. But I did mine in the shades of blue because that's, like I said, one of the colors of our tree. So I've got one tree that we did when we first moved here, and we did all shades of blue. And then last year I kind of just wanted more traditional colors. So now we have a red and green one, and that's why I'm doing that other tree skirt. But just a little bit of a notice is I did make this much bigger, and I did do some modifications. So if you got a big tree, kind of like I do, I think ours is just a little bit over, it's for sure at least 7-foot tree. So if you have a 7-foot tree, this is probably going to be too small. But just as a little note is you're going to do a little bit of math, but I did this bigger. So I think you only make them maybe this big right here. So I added extra, and then still followed the pattern because this is what you'll still have to do, but I just made sure everything was a little bit bigger, if that makes any sense. So I could, if you really need me to, I could try to go and figure out and find my notes and figure out what I tweaked, but a lot of this is just As long as you know how to do your multiplication and things like that, you can kind of figure it out. As for this part in the middle, I will not be able to tell you what I did because I really improv'd just so it would fit the inside. So like I probably followed a little bit of what you had to do, but then I think I just slowly kept decreasing until it would fit around at a good level of my of the base of my tree. And then this I think is just here to let me know which side is the front and back, and I have yet to take it off because I don't want to forget which side is which. But yeah, I like this because it was really fun to be able to pick out all the different colors. My husband was a huge help with that because he's all into the different shades of blue. That's more of his theme. And so he was helping me find all these different colors to do for the tree skirt and helping me pick out all the different spots to do the different colors throughout here. Like I said, this thing's so huge. It's so hard to show on here. But I'll have a picture of it with the tree and everything. But it did involve a little bit of tweaking, like I said, because my tree is bigger than the tree that they made the tree skirt for. But because of Granny's, it's not necessarily, it's like more of like a pentagon. It still works the same because you are doing clusters and you just follow and repeat and you can increase it to make it fit. So it wasn't really complicated when it came to making modifications. So you should be able to, if you have a much bigger tree, you could easily just tweak things to make it work. And a lot of this stuff is just like if you were to make a blanket and things like that. But like I said, if you guys are really wanting some assistance on modifying, I could sit down and make a video for you guys if you want. Just let me know. Drop it in the comments if you're like, hey, I would love some help. What can I do? And I can look into it. Because like I said, the pattern is 66 cents. I might still have the pattern that I have written down here somewhere. But just let me know, guys, and I'll look into figuring that all out, because I know this can be really tricky, especially if you're still trying to figure out the new things to crocheting and things like that. I apologize because this is my own thing. It does have dog hair all over it. My dog actually, when I first made this blanket or this tree skirt, after I put it under the tree, my dog literally laid her head. She's huge. She's a bull mastiff. And she laid her head under the tree just like it was made for her. So there's dog hair on this. I definitely think it's cute. And it's a fairly easy pattern to follow. Just have a big tree, it may be a little tricky. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you were inspired to want to make one of these projects along the way. That it inspired you to maybe check out some of the patterns that were shared. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon next to it so you'll not miss out on any videos or content that I create coming up. It's going to be fun with all the different things I have coming, and then into the new year I am hoping to have more tutorials and more things going on, so it'll be a shame for you to miss out on any of that, so make sure you're not missing out. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!